So the quilt up on the wall behind me was made with jelly rolls, and basically what I did with them is sewed wrong sides together and then pressed the seam open. So see how it, and then press it flat, and that makes this 1-inch strip. So we're not going to make a quilt tonight, we're going to do a mug rug. But to do this project, you need a glue stick, strips of fabric, and this is just leftover pieces of binding that we've done. And so all I'm doing is I have my template here. It's going to be 8.5 inches because that's what size ruler I had out. So it's going to be this big. So it'll be a pretty good size mug rug.
Yeah.
And so I've traced a line. This is just some non-fusible cutaway stabilizer. So you will need a piece of that. Ruler, strips of fabric, and I am just randomly cutting. These don't have to be perfect at all. And T-pins. So the T-pins are pretty handy, and so to do this you're going to start out, and I'm just going to not even really think about where we're putting these, and I'm just going to use my felted wool mat, and I'm going to pin them in place. And then the next one butts right up next to it. So all I'm doing is pinning these in place. You do need the T-pins, and it works best with your felt mat because this just kind of holds everything in place while you start weaving.
I like that.
And so I'm a little bit shy right here, so I'm just going to add another one. So it can always be bigger. Don't need that. Well, I can't see my line anymore, so I'm just going to draw another one out here. And just randomly, you're just going to put parallel lines out here. So I'm going to line that up with this one that I just drew. And if you look, my ruler is kind of lining up with the strips. And this is going to help me keep these straight when I start weaving them. It does take a little bit of practice, but once you get it, so I'm going to flip up every second. Okay, so you can see my line across here. What I'm going to do is just put a little dab in each one of these spots. And then I'm going to just place my little piece right there and just kind of push down. This glue is pretty good about sticking. And then I'm going to place another dab of glue. I wasn't kidding when I said these are just glued together. And you do want to keep the lid on that glue because it will evaporate on you if you don't. And bring these down, and so they get glued to that.
Fun part about this pattern is when you show it to people and they go, oh my gosh, you cut out all those little squares and sewed them together. Put your hand behind your back, cross your fingers, and say, yes, I did.
Why, yes, I did. Of course I did. Remember I told you if I can figure out a way to make something easy, I'm going to? So you can actually do the 44, 42 inch strips like this, and it works out really well. Got this kind of temporary glued in place, and so now I'm going to go put a hot iron on it and really set the glue so that it sticks really well. I'm going to let this sit for just a second on each of these because I want that glue to really stick. Because our next step, we're going to take this off. Now on the quilt, the one that's hanging on the wall, I just put it on the quilting machine and quilted it. But this, because we have all of these little spaces right here that are open, And this is going to be a mug rug. There's a high potential for crumbs. I don't have just coffee. Sometimes I have a muffin or a donut, or sometimes even chocolate.
Sometimes.
Okay. So I think we're pretty well secured. So I'm just going to take these pins off. I'm going to leave the iron and the mat back here. And let's go find a machine that has a good decorative stitch that we can use to just sew along these lines right here. And we should be pretty well stuck. So you can see it's sticking pretty good, but I wouldn't be too rough with it right now. Trim this little piece off right here, so it's just a little bit easier to work with. Okay, so threading this one is super easy. So in order to thread this one, they actually lock it to make sure that the needle is in the right place, and then it has a little manual thing, and we are threaded. How awesome is that? And then you push that again. So let's pick out kind of a cool pattern that will work. Well, let's go with this one, this number 31. It's got little leaves, decorative, and that is there. And so this is a 9mm width, zigzag width. And so I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. So maybe 6mm and a little more dense. And so with this, we start in the middle back here so we can line up our stitches with the center. And with this, you don't really have to put the foot down, it'll do it automatically. And that way we can see kind of in advance if we're gonna like the stitch. And I think this is gonna look great. And it doesn't have to be perfect either. And I'm going to sew a little bit off of this with this pattern and cut. Oh, purple was a good choice.
Oh, it does look pretty good. Cool.
And so when we're doing this, you don't want to sew in the same direction every time. So we sewed this way. And so what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to rotate it one time, like not even all the way around, and I'm going to sew in the middle again. And because I have this stabilizer on, this fabric kind of wants to drift. So I'm just kind of holding it steady here and letting the machine pull the fabric through. Again, I only did one little half rotation, and then I'm going to sew again. So I'll be sewing in the opposite direction that I sewed before. Look how cool that is. And see how you have like this little gap here? But you don't have that after it's been stitched down. So this is perfect for your morning cup and, I don't know, muffin, donut. I like, what do I like? It's not like eggs.
Damn.
They're not real crumbly. You get a really nice finished result. And I love these really sharp corners.
Yeah.